Historically, Super Sentai was created to bring joy, laughter, and beautiful messages to children. However, the screenwriters apparently wanted to convey that kids should also know life isn't just sunshine and rainbows. It also holds tears and pain. That is why they created Sentai series so dark that watching them might cost you a night's sleep. And thanks to that, this franchise possesses legendary works that leave both longtime fans and newcomers feeling absolutely haunted. So, in today's video, let's embark on a slightly scary journey to explore the top 10 Darkest Super Sentai series. Please note that our criteria will rely heavily on visual elements, brutal combat scenes, merciless physical torture, and monster designs that are thorny, gritty, or eerie. As for the shows that are simply serious and mature, I'll save those for another video. Now, let's get started.
Number 1. Choujuu Sentai Liveman. The number 1 spot, which is hard to dispute, belongs to the first Sentai season of the Heisei era, Choujuu Sentai Liveman, released in 1989. The filmmakers decided to create a fresh breeze by heavily increasing the gloom and drama in both the story and design. According to the original idea, the film revolves around a confrontation between 3 heroes and 3 villains. Reducing the number of main members allowed the villain line to be invested in more thoroughly regarding backstory and psychology. The 3 main villains are elite students of the Academia Science Academy, seduced by the master manipulator Great Professor Bias. They destroy the entire academy with a plot to turn humanity into a paradise for intellectual supremacists. On the other side are the Liveman warriors. They are 3 surviving students determined to avenge their friends and stop Bias's plan. It can be said that every element that makes Sentai seasons dark converges in Liveman. Opening with a tragedy, epic imagery, painful sacrifices, and monster designs that are realistic to a rare degree. Even when the film shifts direction in the second half to increase the number of members, the gloomy atmosphere remains, perhaps becoming even denser. Audiences can hardly forget the journey of Ashura, from a petty criminal to a genius through cruel experiments, finally sacrificing himself for redemption. Or the fate of the 3 students who betrayed academia, each leaving their own specific pain. Running parallel to that gloom are salty comedic details like the incompetence of the foot soldiers or the moralizing power of the Blue Dolphin warrior. All show that this movie is not simply for children. Viewers will realize many things that are both shocking and surprisingly deep, especially on rewatching. And because of these things, Liveman deserves to be considered the darkest Sentai in history, a rare monument offering an experience hard to match even to this day.
2. J.A.K.Q. Dengekitai. This is the second series in Super Sentai history. Although the concept wasn't fully defined at the time, J.A.K.Q. was a bold swerve bearing the mark of author Ishinomori Shotaro, but the dark elements and creepiness were dialed up many times over compared to its predecessor Gorenger. The film revolves around a special spy project where excellent individuals are modified into cyborgs to fight the criminal organization Crime. A female inspector revenged upon until she lost loved ones and became disabled, an oceanographer who died and had his corpse brought back for resurrection experiments, a boxing champion who lived a clean life but was framed for murder just because he refused to fix a match, and an Olympic athlete who is the only one without a tragedy but dedicated his life to protecting justice. Throughout the film, or rather just the first 2/3, J.A.K.Q. leads the audience through investigation missions and criminal sweeps with a series of brutal scenes, from ruined lives to deaths depicted directly, like burning alive or shooting, without evasion. With the loose TV standards of that time, this was an extremely bold, even shocking experience that we probably won't have the chance to see again today. However, being too dark caused the film to fall short of commercial expectations. In the final third, the direction changed abruptly, reducing the grit to suit younger audiences, and the runtime was cut short to make way for Battle Fever J. As a result, J.A.K.Q. remains a unique but incomplete work, leaving viewers regretting the potential it could have reached.
3. Mirai Sentai Timeranger. This series marks the transition between the 20th and 21st centuries. Similar to GoGoFive, Timeranger once again brings back the apocalypse theme, but this time the scale of the disaster expands to the timeline itself. The story revolves around 4 police officers from the Time Protection Department of the year 3000.
They are forced to cooperate with a young man living in the 20th century to catch a group of criminals who broke out of jail and traveled back to the past. Throughout this journey, they not only face dangers, but gradually discover many secrets, including the complex family of the Red Ranger, the internal workings of the criminal group, and a terrible conspiracy that could push humanity to doomsday. The content explores gritty and mature themes that are hard for children to grasp. These are very real-life issues like making ends meet, bread and butter, terminal illness, discrimination, the desire for revenge, and the selfishness of those in power. Hidden under the shell of a superhero show, Timeranger stands out for its content, daring to explore realistic stories without shying away from the harshness of reality. The darkness of Timeranger lies not only in the visuals, where the war takes place in two different timelines and failure means billions of lives could be wiped out, but also in its rich humanistic content. Despite the sci-fi elements, the world in the film is portrayed so realistically that viewers can imagine if this happened in real life, humans would behave exactly as they do in the movie. And of course, the film is not afraid to expose the consequences characters must face. As portrayed, it's even more painful than death. The loss of trust, loss of freedom, or punishment by the timeline itself. And above all, the biggest and scariest suffering is poverty. Just as one senshi once said, money for food today is luckily more important than world peace. Notably, this is perhaps one of the Super Sentai series with the saddest ending, where the heroes are forced to separate, leaving behind unfinished stories full of regret and longing.
4. Kyuukyuu Sentai GoGoFive. In 1999, Toei delivered a Super Sentai with an apocalypse theme, fitting perfectly with the conspiracy theories of that time. The series revolves around the Tatsumi family, with 5 siblings growing up lacking the love of both parents. When their genius father suddenly returns, he brings no apology, but immediately drags them into a war to protect Earth. Facing them is the Saima family, demon siblings trying by all means to revive their mother, a terrifying, destructive entity. Like Dairanger, GoGoFive digs deep into the dark corners of parent-child relationships, a theme modern Sentai seasons rarely explore. The common point between the hero family and the monster family is the fracture caused by parental apathy. While the father, Mondo, of the Tatsumi family strives to atone and heal, the matriarch, Grandian, of the Saima clan has the malicious intent to use her children, squeezing them dry until their last breath and pushing them into the most tragic tragedies. GoGoFive also impressed audiences with large-scale disaster scenes staged to highlight the rescue theme. Scenes of rangers rushing into a sea of fire, risking their lives to save people, might not have been the main draw for kids back then, but when adults rewatch it, they bring a deep sense of drama and admiration for real-life rescue workers. It doesn't stop there. The monsters in this series possess designs that rank among the best in history. They are spiky, terrifying, and realistic. Thanks to close-up camera techniques and meticulously designed sets, scenes in the Saima lair or hell appear both chilling and overwhelming. All are unforgettable marks.
5. Choujin Sentai Jetman. This series brought many fresh and groundbreaking elements to the Super Sentai franchise and once again opens with the disaster. The Skyforce ship is destroyed, but the darkness of Jetman doesn't lie in mass deaths or side characters being offed mercilessly, but rather a quality over quantity approach. Every character in this series is given memorable moments by the writers, developed with deep emotion, and just when the audience connects with them, they are pushed into a tragic ending that leaves everyone stunned. For example, the unfortunate girl in episode 18. After Radage lost his memory and became human, she saved him and fell in love with him. But when Radage regained his memories, he killed her straight away, simply because he feared she would become a weakness. Or the group of warriors from another dimension in episodes 23 and 24, the last survivors of their world carrying a desire for revenge against Vyram. All 3 met tragic ends. Even key characters don't escape the writer's cruelty. They are lifted to the peak of emotion only to be dragged down into an abyss of regret and torment. Who can forget the scene where Tranza is avenged by Radage and thrown into a mental asylum, looking both pathetic and creepy? And of course, we cannot forget the ending of Black Condor, one of the most unique moments in the series. In summary, Jetman's darkness doesn't come from visual flamboyance, but from how the production leads the audience's emotions. When you love a character or story too much, witnessing them hurt or collapse leaves an indescribable feeling.
6. Gosei Sentai Dairanger. This is a series that can be described as harmonious and balanced, ranging from drama and mystery to world-building that is magical and captivating. Facing the expansionist ambitions of the Gorenger tribe, a mysterious Taoist named Master Kaku gathers 5 young people. Thanks to their kung fu skills and power from the mythical chi beasts of the Dai tribe, they become the 5-star squadron, fighting to preserve peace. Later, the story introduces a 6th warrior, a child of mixed human and Gorenger heritage, along with intense underground power struggles within the villain faction. The most prominent theme of Dairanger is the concept of legacy or lineage. The blind ambitions or wrong decisions of the previous generation, and even the apathy of parents, can deeply affect the future of their descendants. Simultaneously, placing trust and expectation in the next generation is an arduous journey. Sometimes people must act on their ideals and beliefs without knowing if it's truly good for others. Consequently, the film draws attention to gritty images of parent-child relationships rarely seen in Super Sentai. Additionally, the kung fu theme carries real weight in Dairanger, featuring powerful fight scenes performed by a cast and stunt team that weren't afraid of danger. The film also highlights the sacrifices of pursuing peak martial arts, where practitioners trade not just honor, but their bodies, spirits, and sometimes other people's lives. Although these are dramatized elements, in today's era, we rarely see such stories. The climax hits with the appearance of Daijin Ryu, a god protecting the universe's balance, but who is cold and ruthless, standing neutrally, making the atmosphere tense and gloomy. Furthermore, the villain's makeup is elaborately invested, utilizing the actor's real facial features to make them look very human, yet slightly creepy whenever they are defeated. 7. Ninpuu Sentai Hurricaneger. This is the series that is incredibly fun when it needs to be, but when tension or drama is required, it becomes genuinely terrifying, fully deserving to be a childhood legend for many viewers. Hurricaneger opens with a scene of mass death with the collapse of the Hayate Wei's Ninja Academy under the invasion of the Jakanja Space Ninja Group. Only 3 students escaped because they skipped class, making them the reluctant first 3 warriors of Hurricaneger. Starting with a disaster isn't exactly a wow factor in Super Sentai, but in the next phase, the show plays a bigger hand by introducing the Gorenger brothers. Driven by blind vengeance and rivalry between academies, they shake hands with the villains, threatening even innocent people. A warrior compromising with evil and endangering others is extremely rare in Super Sentai. If it happens, it's usually mitigated by excuses like brainwashing or turning back to the light before causing real consequences. But to have a character considered a symbol of the show walk the path of darkness, as far as I recall, only Mirai and J.A.K.Q and later Opera Killer share similarities with the Gorengers. The peak tension arrives at the end of the series with the appearance of the villains Satakura and Sundaru. One is insane, unpredictable, and somewhat sick, so much so that many call him the Joker of Super Sentai. The other is insidious, powerful, and intelligent. Some viewers even joke that Sundaru is a blend of Loki and Ura from the Gorenger series a year prior. But, above all, the film clearly depicts the sacrifices of the warriors, from small trade-offs at the beginning to heavy losses in the later stages. Truly, as a certain uncle once said, with great power comes great responsibility. In Hurricaneger, power isn't just a miracle as typical toku shows portray. It requires immense sacrifice, sometimes even brutal ones.
Number 8. Battle Fever J. The story revolves around a special team gathered from the planet's strongest scientific nations: the USA, the USSR, France, Africa, and, of course, the host country, Japan, forming the Battle Fever J team to fight the terrorist secret society Egos. Battle Fever J shares many similarities with Gorenger, especially in the disaster scenes, or scenes where characters are tortured. Everything is shown very directly. Many side characters kick the bucket without a shred of mercy. And of course, even a member of the squad couldn't escape the screenwriter's Reaper, Battle Cossack. He departed amidst a fierce and cold hail of bullets from the enemy, leaving behind one of the most haunting moments in the series. Although the warrior representing the USSR dying because he was blasted by democracy,
I wonder if there was a hidden meaning there. What makes Battle Fever J stand out is the monster design. They were crafted to be intricate, spiky, and far scarier, even compared to other films of the time. It's a bit gross, but very impressive. Although not all monsters in the movie received such detailed investment, it was still a major step forward compared to previous series.
Ninth, Himitsu Sentai Gorenger. This is the first series that kicked off the Super Sentai franchise, dripping with 70s toku vibes in Ishinomori Shotaro's signature style. It has everything: disasters, side characters being wiped out without mercy by the writers, and a very dark premise. The story revolves around Eagle, a powerful military network, until it is attacked and nearly obliterated by the Block Cross Army. Consequently, Eagle is forced to downsize into a spy network known as the Secret Squadron Gorenger. As mentioned, the show features many deaths of supporting characters. Maybe the writers wanted to show the brutality of war, where life is cheap as dirt, or maybe the production crew only had the budget to hire extras for a single episode, so they had them killed off early to grab their lunchbox and leave. These characters are diverse, ranging from allies and civilians to even an official team member. Notably, the show didn't hesitate to delete child characters, something only old-school Toku dared to do. However, the darkest aspect of the series lies mostly in the visuals. Interspersed are incredibly silly jokes that will make you laugh out loud. Therefore, ninth place is perfectly reasonable for a series that converges both dark and comedic elements like this.
Number 10. Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. This is the 20th anniversary series of Super Sentai, famous for paying tribute to the legacy of author Ishinomori Shotaro and the era he helped define. When the machine empire Baranoia lands on Earth, causing a series of disasters and wiping out significant military forces worldwide, Chief of Staff Miura gathers 5 elite surviving officers. He reveals to them a superpower mined from the ruins of an ancient civilization, combined with late 20th century scientific progress to create the Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. The point that makes Ohranger dark is the disaster scenes, which are depicted quite directly, perhaps even a bit too intensely. But that was a characteristic of old-school Tokusatsu, something the show intentionally recreated as a tribute. Even the weapons were designed to look more realistic compared to modern standards. Nowadays, these elements would hardly make it onto Japanese television because censorship laws have tightened significantly. However, that's about all this anniversary series brings to the table. At times, it is very gloomy and epic, but at other times it shifts to being lighthearted in a rather bland way. The disaster scenes are indeed a highlight, but compared to toku shows from previous decades, there's still a gap. Well, the filmmakers had to balance the tribute factor with audience tastes and broadcast regulations, which were tightening at the time. So, Ohranger has to settle for the last spot on the list.
So, I have summarized the top 10 darkest and most serious Sentai series in history. If you have another name in mind or want to change the order of this ranking, please leave your opinion in the comment section below. And if you found this video interesting and useful, don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss my next videos. For now, goodbye and see you again.